Welcome back to the program. The microphone is on now, Tommy. Don't say a word you ain't supposed to say.
Yeah, I was just checking to make sure I didn't say anything too crazy today, you know?
I don't want to typecast you, but you are the guy that brought the Kia Boyz documentary to the world, and I would say it has gone on to go internationally viral. But you're more than just that. You've got a whole host of documentaries that you filmed in some very unusual places most folks would never go. They would never get the stories of these people. You dare go where no other man has gone. I think that's led to a lot of your success.
That's the mission of the channel. And honestly, I'm fascinated by the world. So I just got off the phone today with a subway surfer that they ride on top of the New York subways at risk to their life. I just got off the phone with a guy from Toronto that chops cars and hustles that. So anything that's in the underworld, anything that the average person can't just go in and film, you email me, you find me, I'm likely to be in your city next. And also, since the Kia Boyz, we've launched probably 70 or 75 documentaries almost every Tuesday since the Kia Boyz has come out. We cover all sorts of things. So people that are just tuning in and think Tommy G's the Kia Boy guy, yes, that was one of the big first ones, but I mean, we just did Most Wanted Drivers in New York City where guys are driving Lamborghinis 200 miles an hour through weaving in and out. We do all sorts of things on the channel.
Inside the deadly world of mercenaries and the journey of fentanyl through America. Now, were either or both of those the documentaries that you showcased at the Oriental Theater for the fundraiser? Okay.
Both.
And that event, I'm assuming, turned out very well. It was during the first week of March, early March.
Yeah, we had a fantastic time. So we had people from all over the country drive in, fly in, nearly sold out the theater. We raised a little over $40,000 from that event. And that was what we were able to actually, just before the event of that, or the day that event launched, I was able to sign a lease with Combat Corner at 6333 West Douglas Avenue, where we have a state-of-the-art facility where we already have practices, we already have kids, we already have a lot of coaches. We're up and running. So everything that we said we were going to do with that fundraiser, with that money we raised, we're already up and running and doing it.
So for folks that may not remember when you were here probably in February promoting this fundraising event, because you took a lot of heat for doing the Kia Boyz documentary that you were exploiting, African-American youth and exploiting a problem in the black community. You actually have taken the fame and success that you have garnered through your work and used it to raise money to create a state-of-the-art wrestling program for youth, because I know that you saw the need and what was missing and also what wrestling did for you, and you wanted to raise money to bring that to Milwaukee's youth.
Let me address a couple of those things. One is the whole exploitation thing. First, there's not one place I've been that I haven't been invited. So every place that I've been, people invite me. They want me to come in. They want me to cover their life. They want me to tell their story. So, and we cover all sorts of people, black, white, Native American, Mexican, politicians, pimps, everyone that you can think of and name, we cover. So, if someone isn't familiar, just look at the videos. They speak for themselves. We have a whole huge portfolio. And what our job is to do is to give a voice, amplify the voice of the person that maybe mainstream media won't cover or doesn't cover. And as far as bringing the wrestling to the community, that's always been a dream of mine. Before we launched this academy, I've been volunteer coaching at middle schools, high schools, all around Milwaukee for the last few years. I had my own little club actually out in Brookfield for 2 or 3 years. And so this has always been a dream. It's been a sport that changed my life. I remember I was a 10-year-old playing youth baseball, and there was a kid on the team named Reese Diedzik who had big biceps. And we're like, Reese, how are you so strong? How are you so big? He's, I'm a wrestler. We joined, and since then, I've been obsessed. It's a sport that's taken me through college to wrestle. It's a sport that's taken me through a cage fight. It's a sport that's taken me into, that's part of the reason I'm able to go to these dangerous places and feel okay. Like, yeah, I don't got a Glock on me when I'm going, but I have the ability to take most people down one-on-one. Obviously, if I get jumped, I'm not a Superman, but one-on-one, most people walking around, I feel fairly confident that I can double leg them, and now with my jiu-jitsu that I'll be able to choke them. Not that I ever use it. I always avoid fights. Fights are stupid. But wrestling is a self-defense art, and that's why it's so good for kids, is because it gives them confidence. When you know that someone can't just take your lunch money, that there's going to be repercussions if that happens. And wrestling, it might be one of the only martial arts that you can subdue someone without hurting them. Boxing, I got to put you down. It's probably going to hurt you. Wrestling, I can take you down and I can make sure that I control your body and you don't move, but I'm not hurting you. And I actually think every police officer out there should know some level of wrestling, some level of jiu-jitsu. That would make things a lot safer as far as civilian interactions. And I know that if I was a police officer, if I had to arrest somebody, especially someone bigger, maybe stronger than me, I would want to know what I'm doing. And I think whether you're a kid, whether you're a cop, wrestling is one of the greatest arts. We have a saying in our sport. We got this from Beat the Street Chicago. That's a massive wrestling organization. They say, all sports are good, but wrestling is king.
And it's also an Olympic sport and a
Also.
very, very old, ancient sport. But that makes a lot of sense because it's not just the athletic ability you need to be a good wrestler. There is discipline involved, but also if you can teach young people how to defend themselves without needing a firearm, I think that is very necessary and very needed as well.
100%. Also, wrestling gives kids a great deal of persistence because it's a tough sport. It's not easy to cut weight. It's not easy to show up to the practices. There's people that show up to practices and they're like, this is not like what I thought it was. It's difficult. But I think difficult is good, and I think kids are looking for a challenge, and I think kids are wanting to challenge, and here's a place that they can come. Right now we run Mondays and Wednesdays, 5:45 to 7 at 6333 West Douglas Avenue. We got guys like Truman McGee of Funky Fresh Spring Rolls. He's coaching there a lot. We got O'Brien Mungan, one of the last state champs from Milwaukee, coaching there. We got Shane Kennelly. He's been coaching in the area for the last 10 years. We got Coach Tank. This guy's a big bear of a man. I wouldn't want to get in a bar fight with him. He's a Washington high school coach coaching there. So, and I just got 2 DMs today of more guys that want to come. So, what we're just looking for is the kids. We were just at Greater Holy Christian Temple school out in Brown Deer. Did an assembly for the kids, showed them a video of what wrestling looks like, invited them, every single one of them, boys and girls, which, by the way, some of you listening back home might be wondering, like, is this a sport for girls? Girls wrestling is actually the fastest growing sport in America right now. And so there's a lot of savages out there that are females that'll take you down too, and we'd love to have you in there.
Speaking with Tommy G, Milwaukee documentary filmmaker who has now raised some money and has got a wrestling program for Milwaukee's youth. So a couple of things. What is the age range of the young people you're looking for to join the wrestling program?
We're looking at anywhere between 5 and 18. As we grow, we're going to segment the classes more and more. Right now we have an army of little kids, and we wanted to build that. We want to build that to a couple hundred kids where we go out and compete. There's a bunch of kids that are disciplined, tough, ready to take people down. And also it's going to translate into school too. A kid that knows how to work hard, a kid that knows how to be disciplined is going to be a better student, is going to be a better kid, is going to be a better citizen. And so wrestling builds all of that.
This also supplements a lot of wrestling that has been taken out of schools. I know it was offered when I was in high school. Here, perfect example of how tough wrestling is. I played 4 years of high school football, was an all-conference tackle my senior year. Our coaches encouraged us to take up a sport during the off season, and wrestling back in those days was a spring sport. Football was fall. The wrestling practices were so tough, I quit. I could not handle the running that we had to do. The conditioning for wrestling, I'm not even kidding, was 10 times more strenuous than for football. So young people that are involved in wrestling, they're going to be in incredible shape. They're going to have a tremendous amount of discipline, and it is a lot tougher than even football. So was this part of a supplement to high school wrestling programs, or there's a void of high school wrestling programs, and that's why you decided to create this?
Well, right now the wrestling community is really weak in Milwaukee, and I think part of it is because people just didn't have a place to come and train. There was a lot of little tiny clubs, like a guy had a mat in a garage or a guy had a mat in a community center, but it could only hold 10 kids, and there's 60 kids on the wait list. Now we have a big facility, state-of-the-art, brand new, and I think you can only be so big if your fishbowl is tiny, you know? So I think now we have the ability to grow. The other thing is COVID has killed a lot of sports in Milwaukee. Ever since COVID, kids really haven't enrolled back into a lot of sports, so attendance is down across the board. That's not just wrestling, that's basketball, football, baseball, everything. But we're going to build it back up, and our goal is to build a really strong youth program so that all of the high school coaches in the area are like, okay, I got to encourage kids to go here so that when they get to high school, they're going to be tough, they're going to be ready. And I just want to talk about one more thing, which is we talk about how tough it is. And yes, it is a tough sport, but a lot of the kids in it are pretty young. So our goal is not to grind them out. It's not to make them do 1,000,000 push-ups until they cry. Our goal is for them to have fun. So we play a lot of games. There's a lot of combat games in the wrestling world that the kids love. When we say, oh, we're playing Steal the Bacon or we're playing this game, that game, they get excited. They get ready. We want them to leave practice happy, telling their friends, like, this is what I did in practice today. So toughness will come along the way, but especially the younger they are, the more we just want them to have fun, get some energy out, and learn a martial art that is just one of the best in the world to learn.
What is the phone number or website where people can get more information about the wrestling program?
Oh man, I'm gonna have to pull out my phone on that to look at it's Milwaukee Wrestling at gmail.com, and then we have Coach Shane Kennelly's number listed. Let me just double check on
Or
this.
if you have like an Instagram or
Yeah,
I want
the
people to be able to
Milwaukee
find you.
Wrestling Academy on Instagram, and also just come show up. 6333 West Douglas Avenue. But let me get the number as well for everyone that wants to call Shane Kennelly. He's one of the head coaches there. 773-329-3772. So when you get there for the first practice, parents got to come. They got to sign a waiver for insurance reasons, and then their kid can practice. Try practice out for free. One of the things that's going to be really important to address is so far we've raised $55,000. We are self-funded right now. What we are looking for is to eventually make this free for everybody. Right now, it's a recommended $40 a month donation, which is a fifth of all the competing wrestling schools. If you look in the suburbs, about $200 a month for a wrestling academy like this. Right now, we're at $40 a month. Eventually, we want to make it free. Here's how we can do that. My message is to corporate Milwaukee and individual donors out there. A lot of you guys might look at me and say, that's the Kia Boy guy. Why would I donate? Well, one, we're already raising serious money, and I put my own capital into this. And two, we're really building something that you guys can come watch a practice and see what we're up to. We'd love to have a Milwaukee Tool sponsorship, Johnson Controls, Generac, all of the big companies in the area, Northwestern Mutual. We'd love to talk to you guys and see how we could partner and make the community. This is going to be a stronghold of the community. This is something that I would say is maybe a legacy piece. I want this to live on years and years after I'm in a grave. So I want this to be a place that the kids can come and train, that they can be safe, that they can be loved, and they can learn a sport that they're like, holy crap, I didn't even realize this was out there.
Speaking with Tommy G, you can find him on YouTube at Tommy G McGee. We're going to take a break, come back. On the other side, I'm going to talk about some of your work.
Let's do it.
Especially, I took a Sunday afternoon and just binged several of your documentaries, and I was impressed and I was riveted, and I'm going to talk about a couple of those on the other side. You're listening to The Truth with Sherwin Hughes on 101.7 FM. I'll be right back. Tommy G is in studio, documentary filmmaker, which some of you know from his Kia Boyz documentary, but he's got a whole bunch more riveting and powerful documentaries. It's like you go to the underbelly of society, people that most folks would never have any contact with, and you get very powerful, honest interviews with folks that most of us would never have any kind of interaction with. There's one in particular that I got to ask you about, and I saw this on a Sunday afternoon when I was binging some of your work. It's on the block with pimps and prostitutes. And so you're riding around, and you see the girls that are out there walking and working, which is incredibly dangerous work because these girls they're very, very vulnerable. And you want to just invite girls into the vehicle just to talk to them, ask them some questions. But I'm thinking to myself, you look like a John, because a John could also be saying the same thing if the cops are stinging, right? Because some of those girls might be law enforcement, and you pull up to a girl and say, hey, get in the vehicle. I'll give you some money just to talk to me. The cops may have arrested you and confused you for a John. Did you worry about that?
What I was most thinking is like, man, we just look like cops. Like I have the goatee. I have 3 guys in the car. We don't really.
You got a camera.
Yeah, we got cameras. I don't talk to them the right way. I'm not hollering at them properly. Like I'm not smooth with. I'm not really experienced in picking up prostitutes. So it's like, okay, I just want to convince her that she's going to be safe, that her identity is going to be concealed, and this is going to be the easiest $100 she makes all day. I'm going to pay you for your time, $15. Let's ride around. Let's hear about your life, because I think it's fascinating. And also, women that work on the street like that are, you said it, very vulnerable. We're actually working on a story in Chicago about the Chicago Strangler. This is a serial killer that has between 50 and 70 victims. Almost all of them are women that work on the street. So the idea that they're going into strange men's car at great risk to themselves, they're getting naked with them, which is incredibly vulnerable to be in that position. And they're driving. Sometimes they get the door locked on them. Sometimes it's just a very, very risky job.
And a lot of those women all have their own horror stories, and even women that they have known that disappeared or found murdered. So that's always a risk that they're undertaking as well. But one of the more fascinating parts of that documentary in particular, you can find it on Tommy G's YouTube page, which is Tommy G McGee on YouTube. was the conversation with the pimps.
Yeah.
And
Interesting guys, huh?
to say the least, and I don't even know where to begin with some of these guys. It almost didn't seem real.
Mm.
And that just the way they portray themselves, like, no, I'm here to help her. She goes and sells her body and she's risking death every single day. And she gives me all the money, of course. But if she needs anything, I'll take care of her. Did they have like a hero syndrome that they legitimately thought that they were doing good for some of these women who are risking their lives?
I think people have to rationalize the situations that they're in. So everyone tells themselves that they're doing the right thing. If you ask Hitler, Stalin, a pimp, you name it, every one of us sitting in a car listening to this, we have a story about ourselves that we are doing the right thing.
Because you asked them if you thought they were good people, and they all said yes.
Oh, they thought they were like financial gurus helping their women their way to financial freedom. And it's staggering to think that, because it's like, dude, are you kidding me? Like, she's out doing everything, and you're the one wearing all the designer clothes and acting all cool while she's walking around in a bikini on a Sunday afternoon. But I think if we look at the pimps' childhoods, I think we're going to dig and find some more clues. A lot of these guys, their family members got into the game. Oh, my auntie showed me how to do this. If you are in a situation where your auntie is showing you how to do that as a young boy, you become to think it's normal. You think, oh, this is just a business strategy. Get my LLC and I'm ready to go. And so I do have a little bit of sympathy for them, because they grew up in a messed up situation, but it does not excuse their behavior. A lot of them are just parasites. Not only do they take all the money, but then if you get into gorilla pimping, these guys are beating the absolute dog shit out of people, and that's not cool. So these guys tell themselves a story, and I mean, what was your impression? And sorry for saying the S word.
Nobody caught that. So I know, like, my perception of pimping, like, there was a period of time where a man was called a pimp, and it was a compliment. It was status to achieve, and this was many, many years ago. But then we actually found out what it actually is. There's no glamour. There's no status. It is literally human trafficking, and it's incredibly dangerous, and it's a horrible, horrible thing to do, taking advantage of somebody.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that we know so much more about human trafficking, that people are still doing it, and that there are still women who are agreeing to risk their lives and their bodies to give all of that money that they make to another man just to be taken care of or to be looked after, is something that's just so mind-blowing. Because, there were movies that were made in the 1970s about pimping and glamorizing, and there was, all sorts of albums and music, and it had a profound influence in hip-hop. But as we have gotten older and times have changed, we know how dramatically dangerous and horrible that the whole oldest profession actually is, especially when they're dealing with vulnerable people. And a lot of girls they're addicted to drugs.
That's a big thing. I know we're short on time. You got to move to your next segment. So let me just end by saying this.
Actually, we got 10 seconds left in the show.
This is why it's important to bring women up and to believe in their own worth and know that their own self-respect is worth so much more than any of that. And that's where the sport of wrestling comes in, if I had to do a little segue.
Perfect. Tommy G, always a pleasure to have you, sir. We'll talk to you very, very soon. Thank you guys for listening. Have a great weekend. Happy Mother's Day. I'll see you next time.